Hello, everyone, and welcome Idaho exporters to our webinar today, all about the Idaho Online Global Programs, all about digital tools to help you grow your exports, your sales, your brand, and business online globally in your top target markets. Thank you, everybody, for joining today. We really appreciate you taking the time out of these crazy days to spend an hour with us to learn more about this. So, as people are logging on, I just want to introduce the panelists today. So first we have Susanna Hardy, and Susanna Hardy is our Chief Content Officer. She is super knowledgeable about anything and everything online. If you want to learn more about social media in Arabic or website localization in Brazil, she is the person to talk to. She's super knowledgeable. And along with Susanna Hardy and myself, my name is Samantha Sofici. I'm a Senior Business Development Manager for IBT Online. We are joined by Tina Salisbury from the Idaho Department of Commerce, and she's the Senior International Trade Specialist and also STEP Grant Project Director. So if you want to learn more about STEP grants and what you can use them for, she is the lady to talk to. She is wonderful and a super helpful resource. And we're also thrilled to have Jay Park, a commercial officer for the U.S. and Commercial Service Idaho. So thank you, Jay, for also joining us today. We really appreciate it. So before we dive into the agenda, just a quick word about IBT Online for those of you who don't know us. We've been in business since 2002. Our main objective is to help exporters grow internationally through their online presence. So for us, that's through website localization and international online marketing. We've helped over 500 U.S. companies. We've helped them go into over 65 target markets, over 45 countries in 24 plus languages. So it's a well-trodden road, and we've actually been recognized this year by receiving the President's E Award, which is the highest recognition any U.S. company and any U.S. exporter can receive for helping others with their exports. So we're really proud of that and proud of our team behind the scenes. So for today's agenda, first we're going to hand over to the Idaho team to talk about resources for Idaho exporters. Then we're going to go into why do Idaho exporters need online business development tools. And then we're going to go into what they are. So website localization, e-commerce, and international online marketing. And then we're going to leave about 10 to 15 minutes for takeaways and Q&A at the end. So in terms of just a little bit of housekeeping, if you have any questions throughout the presentation, either for us or for the Idaho team, please don't hesitate to just pop them into the questions or into the chat, and we'll make sure to get to them at the end of this presentation. And if we don't get to it at the end, then we'll make sure to send you a personal email answering those questions. So please take advantage and put those into the chat. Another thing, we will have some polls throughout the presentation, throughout the webinar. So please participate and answer those polls as they pop up. It's just really helpful for both IBT Online and also for the Idaho team to learn more about where you guys are at and where your interest lies, so we can kind of tip and tailor these presentations and the resources accordingly. And also at the end of the webinar, we have a really quick, like 1 to 2 minute survey. So please, if you could take the time at the end of this webinar to fill that out as well, that will be very helpful for all the parties involved, just to help tailor everything to Idaho exporters a bit better. All right, and with that, we'll dive into the presentation, starting with Tina.
Thank you, Samantha, and I want to thank Samantha and both Susanna and the whole IBT team for working with the state of Idaho on this program. We are so thankful to be working with them, and thankful that all of you are here today to hear about this brand new program. This is brand new for us, and we can't wait to share it all with you. I want to take a second just to introduce myself and also our partners at the Idaho State Department of Agriculture. Our two teams work together super closely, and we are doing this program jointly together. And we're here for all Idaho companies who are looking to export, and you can reach out directly to me and I will hook you up with any of my team members. Or also on the screen you can see Chelsea Conlin. She is over at the Department of Agriculture. She is the main point of contact over there for the programs we're going to talk about today. And if you have other needs, she can hook you up with her team. And speaking of other needs, we just want to give you a really quick high level kind of what our teams do for our Idaho companies, just in case you aren't familiar. And this is the first time you're getting to sit down with us. So some export services that we have to help you. Our local team can help you with consultations and market research, inbound buying delegations where we bring buyers to the state of Idaho. And then we also plan services where we go outside of the state of Idaho when we can. For trade shows, trade missions, we also facilitate trainings like this one or new to exporter trainings that we have currently going on. And we also hold 3 overseas trade offices. One is located in Taiwan, one is located in China, and one in Mexico. And those have on the ground local language speaking managers who assist our Idaho companies with all of the things you see on the screen. But in addition to that, they can help you with scheduling your overseas appointments, doing matchmaking, which currently we're doing virtually. They can help also with some importing and sourcing, and then also your marketing, logistics, helping you check regulatory requirements in their countries. And they also maintain relationships with their local governments and participate in a lot of local quasi-government groups to make sure they're up on all sorts of the local requirements. And then they can also help you with conducting due diligence on any companies that might reach out to you to do business with you, to make sure that they're reputable and that it's a good partnership for you. And then the other services really specifically that the state of Idaho provides are a couple of different grant programs. And these are really important to bring up today, just especially in regards to what you're going to learn about from IBT today. So first off is Idaho State Department of Agriculture, along with 12 other Western states departments of agriculture, are members, and they act as project managers for the Western U.S. Agricultural Trade Association, known as WUSADA. And it's a nonprofit organization, and they promote international trade through programs, again, kind of like what the states do with inbound and outbound missions, virtual buyer matchmaking, trade shows, and other in-country promotional events. And they also coordinate at the Department of Ag the Match Fund Grant, which is available for small to medium-sized businesses for international projects and activities. So be sure to reach out to Chelsea if you have any questions on any of their services. And then as far as Idaho Commerce goes, we run the STEP grant program out of our office. And that is a grant that the state gets from the Small Business Administration. And it is for both ag and commerce companies. So either can apply. It just happens to be run out of our office by me and my team. And it is for export marketing initiatives for companies that meet the SBA's eligibility requirements. So today we're here to talk about this brand new Idaho Online Global Program. And so the STEP grant that just opened this morning for applications is available for a $9,000 grant for all of the services that you're going to hear about today. So specifically, design and development of websites with international focus, oversight and maintenance and monitoring, fees for search engine optimization, and online market listing fees, e-commerce platform fees, and expenses to set up websites to accept international payments. IBT has customized a really great program that falls exactly underneath all of the requirements set by the SBA. So you know right out of the chute, and as well as the information that Jay Park from the U.S. Commercial Service is going to give you, all of these things are eligible under the grant. Not only is the grant open today for this program, but it's also opening for our Financial Assistance Award program as well. A company can apply, you can submit one application for each of these programs. So the Online Global Program and for our traditional Financial Assistance Award. The financial assistance awards can be used for trade missions, sales trips, trade shows, and services provided by the U.S. Commercial Service. And Jay's going to go over that in just a second. And be sure, if you're new to the STEP grant program, reach out to me as soon as possible to get yourself a login, because we have an online platform where you do your actual application and you need a login for that. So reach out to me ASAP. And just in case there's anybody else on the call that is not a small company under the SBA standards, then don't worry, you are still eligible to work with Jay, to work with IBT. You just unfortunately would not be eligible for grant funds to help you pay for those services. But I do want you to know you still can participate. But if you ever have questions on that, feel free to reach out, and to reach out if you are having questions on whether you're eligible under those SBA requirements. I'm here to help you with that, and so is my team. And then other sources of funding. I want to take a quick second to talk about the SBA itself. They have some loan programs that can help you. One in particular is the Export Express loan program that can be applied in conjunction if you get a grant as well. And you can actually start working with their offices ahead of time. And a local rep for the SBA that I'd have you reach out to, his name is John Brislin, and I can get you that contact information. But that Export Express loan program could help cover some of the additional costs that aren't covered by the grant. Or if you decide you want to do a larger package than what your grant would cover, then you could use that program to have an even bigger, broader, more robust program through Commercial Service or IBT. And with that, that's the really short, quick update on what our offices do. Now I want you to get to know Jay and all the things that the U.S. Commercial Service can do for you.
Thank you, Tina. Good morning. My name is Jay Park, Commercial Officer from the Boise, Idaho U.S. Commercial Service Center. My presentation today will focus on our website globalization review service. Next slide, please. So I would like to start my presentation with a brief overview of our organization for those who are not familiar with the U.S. Commercial Service. The U.S. Commercial Service is part of the U.S. Department of Commerce, and we work with small and medium-sized companies export their products and services. We have a network of experienced trade professionals in more than 80 countries within our U.S. embassies and consulates to help U.S. companies increase their export sales. We use our global network to help connect Idaho companies with foreign business partners. So whether you're looking to make your first export sales or expand into additional international markets, we can provide expertise and connections. And there are 4 major service categories available from the U.S. Commercial Service, as you can see. And in the next few slides, I'll go over each of these categories to enhance your understanding. First is our market intelligence, helping you understand local market conditions, including local laws and cultural issues, as well as conducting background checks on potential foreign partners. Next slide, please. We also offer business matchmaking, helping screening potential business partners for you. And now in the time of COVID, we're also helping introduce you to potential business partners virtually. And we have a variety of services to help companies meet their potential foreign partners. Next slide, please. And of course, being a US government agency, we can open doors that no one else can in markets around the world. And with that, we can help you navigate local trade barriers or engage foreign governments on your behalf. And we also work with companies individually in developing a strategic international business development plan. With each new market, we help you develop the most effective market entry strategy, including helping you understand local documentation requirement, export controls and compliance considerations, as well as financing options. In addition, we have a new e-commerce innovation lab for companies to identify export opportunities across e-commerce sales channels and development of a digital strategy. Next slide, please. So in the next 2 slides, I would like to introduce our website globalization review analysis service details with you. As you know, creating a cross-border e-commerce digital strategy for your business is an important step in the digital transformation process. And developing an e-commerce strategy is more frequently cited as the #1 business consideration for growing overseas sales online. The purpose of this strategy should be to identify areas of your business operations that require additional resources in order to successfully sell and compete in the cross-border e-commerce online sales channels. So the website globalization review gap analysis service, it aims to provide you with technical and strategic assessment of your business's e-commerce sales channel efforts. And since creating a digital strategy for your, go back, please. Yeah, so since creating a digital strategy for your business to capitalize on the e-commerce sales channels will take time and consideration, our service begins with the 5 essential steps to your digital strategy. And these are the 5 questions. The first is defining your digital objectives. What do you want your website to achieve? Is your goal to inform or to increase sales? The second is website internationalization and SEO, search engine optimization. And you can use our report to understand your current site performance, and companies should focus on keywords in content and link building as a part of your SEO. And then back-end digital infrastructure needs. It must be understood that the e-commerce sales channel is an investment in your business's future sales, and the U.S. Commercial Service will recommend service providers for a more professional, appealing site for overseas consumers. And then choosing an e-commerce sales channel mix. This is the ratio at which you assign resources to the 4 possible sales channels. And companies should first conduct market research to determine where products are being bought or imported, and then use your digital strategy to select the ratio of the 4 e-commerce sales options. The final step is to establish KPIs so you can benchmark your SEO success using website analytics to create your metrics. You should then be able to identify areas for improvement, solicit and monitor customer feedback regularly, and utilize data to inform management and sales. Next slide, please. Okay. Samantha, next slide. Oh, there it is. Thank you.
I'm sorry, Jay,
so in this slide, I'll use this website. Yep, good. Can you hear me?
Yep, loud and clear. Sorry about that.
Okay, good. Yep. So yeah, so our website globalization review is it's an evaluation of your business's website from international marketing sales perspective, and the report will provide you with website SEO enhancements that'll make your web presence more appealing and functional for overseas sales prospects. So each of our gap analysis report includes executive recommendations, technical SEO web crawls to analyze metadata, keyword, and backlink issues. And the report also provides you with similar website internationalization best practices and international aesthetical assessment. And at the end of our service, the USCS can then refer you to outside e-commerce business service providers if you choose to upgrade your website according to our analysis. So the fees for this service is $100 for small companies and $300 for medium companies, but the initial consultation is free of charge. And in conclusion, this would be an excellent complement to the Idaho Online Global Program and the Financial Assistance Awards. And look forward to assisting you with your global e-commerce preparation. So if you're interested in learning more, my contact information is in the next slide, but it's j.park@trade.gov. Thank you very much. And yeah, I would like to turn it back to Samantha then. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. It's Susanna as well, just joining in. And I'm delighted to be here today to talk Idaho companies about online tools. But before we do that, I thought it'd be really interesting, especially after what all this information you just got from Tina and Jay. Let's launch a quick poll. We were wondering how many of you as companies, have already taken advantage of any of the services offered by Idaho Commerce or the U.S. Commercial Service. If you've already gone into market research, and you can click on several of these, by the way. So don't hesitate to click on a few if you participated. This is just trying to get us. And by the way, I put virtual trade missions, but count that as virtual trade, virtual anything, virtual services. And just to give you a little bit of response here, an awful lot of you have taken advantage of the training and export counseling for that. So that's really interesting to know. But I think a lot of you have also taken part in trade shows and business matchmaking. I think that's particularly for U.S. commercial services, but the trade shows, trade missions would be very much also with Idaho. That's terrific. Most of you have voted. Thank you so much for that. There'll be a couple other polls during the presentation, but thank you all very, very much for responding to them. Those are really important for us to get information like that. Helps us make sure that we're on track for giving you the right information. I'm going to close that poll now. And again, thank you for doing all that. And just turn back to the slide deck, and we're going to just dive in. Let's start with the why. Why do we think you all need virtual tools? And we've been talking with companies all year long. We've all year, this weird year that we've all had. And again and again, across different sectors, from agriculture to advanced manufacturing to services, companies have told us consistently that there are 4 big priorities they're looking at the moment. Obviously, employees, cash flow and costs, supply chains have been a disaster. But the thing they're all also focused on increasingly is generating sales, how to maintain the top line. And the virtual tools and what we do at IBT Online, that's what we're focused on. We're focused on your top line. We're focused on driving your business forward. Where are you getting sales? And the COVID really is in this pandemic thing has really accelerated a lot of trends. And on this slide, you can see some of the numbers. So this is just the online world. A population of 7.5 billion people on the planet, 4.66 billion of them, so 60%, are online. And not just like online the way my grandma gets online, which is once a month. No, the average amount of time spent online per day, nearly 7 hours. So that means 60% of the world's population is spending 7 hours a day online. And as I said, the pandemic has accelerated all of these growths. So look at that, 7.5% growth in those huge numbers. And, it's continuing to grow. Whether, as I said, 7.5% increase in internet users, but 12.5% increase in social media users. So, these are very big numbers, but these are also good news for Idaho companies. It's good news if you take it in the sense that saying, well, we know exactly where our prospects are, where our clients are, where our future employees are. We know where they are. They're all online. We know how to reach them. They're through online tools. So for us, we very strongly believe that Idaho exporters need virtual tools like localized websites because the world's online. And we think that even after 2021, after vaccines and all the rest of it, we're not going to go back to a totally non-online world. Virtual tools are increasingly a part of an everyday new normal for businesses. And there are now fantastic ways to use them. One of the key elements of all online is to make sure that you're talking to the right buyer persona, that you've defined that buyer persona. And perhaps your buyer persona as well might be a bit different from your international buyer persona. So when we're looking at international sales, your international buyer persona is going to be, make sure that you're absolutely on target there. So a couple of questions here to ask yourself. Is my international buyer persona different from my domestic one? If so, how? Are there multiple buyer personas in my export markets? For example, is a distributor a buyer persona? You know, that sort of thing. How does my buyer persona find me? How do they interact with me? In what ways are their buyer journeys different? This is going to be important for defining your online tools for this. I'm going to show you an example of how companies use buyer personas to target buyer personas. This is a screenshot from L'Oreal, and L'Oreal is really quite well researched as a company that is really good at international buyer persona identification. This is a screenshot from early days of COVID, about April, when, you know, US, the buyer personas of US L'Oreal were quite concerned, and L'Oreal really wanted to reach out to them, particularly for salon and stylists, and say, look, we're here for you, we care about you during this COVID-19 crisis. But if you look at what they were showing in, for example, at the same time of year in Australia, you get a very different feeling about it. At that time in Australia, had some horrific wildfires, and people were very, very concerned about it. In front of mind was climate concern. And I think then, you know, L'Oreal just tweaked its show just a little bit to connect with its Australian buyer personas. And if we look in Brazil, for example, exactly the same time for L'Oreal, again, L'Oreal was saying to its Brazilian buyer personas, we care about you. We're actually very concerned, and we are, for the first time, putting out hand gel and sanitizers and things like that for everybody in Brazil. It's not a product that's normally associated with L'Oreal. So there you see some examples of an international buyer persona and how to define your international buyer persona, and that they could be different in all these different markets. Now, they're basically, when we talk about online tools, they're basically only two online tools. That's it. If you want to simplify your life, just think that there are just two of them. They're your websites and your online marketing. So it's your, if you like, your online real estate and how you're communicating. And your website can be small, can be big, e-commerce enabled or not. They can look like a brochure, or they can have lots of bells and whistles, but it's basically a website. Online marketing can take the form of just very, very hands-off, gentle, sort of organic, or it can be very full on. So it's just anywhere within that continuum. But I think one of the things you want to have in front of mind right from the start is when you're driving any kind of international strategy, that you coordinate between the different markets, but that you also localize for the markets. So we talked about that international buyer persona as a form of localization. Here's what we're on a diagram, what we would look at. If you have a US website, that can have its own SEO and social media orbiting around it, animating it, driving traffic to it, energizing it. But let's say you've got some fantastic clients in France. Well, then France probably deserves its own website to make sure that you have even more clients there. And that could have also its own SEO and social media orbiting around that website. Same for example, Brazil. In each case, they would be linked back to your US Idaho website. And so that you have make sure you have good brand recognition, and consistency. But you're having these localized presences in these markets in order to really make sure that you are embedded and engaging in those markets, that your international buyer persona recognizes you in those markets. So that's why we're really going to be talking about these online global programs. And for us, the Idaho Online Global Programs will allow you to reach the new markets and engage in those new markets. And I've listed there about 10 reasons how the program's going to help you. Basically, the program helps you by driving up your sales, whether that's long-term brand recognition, short-term lead generation, distributor finding, all that. It's all about driving your top line. Now we're going to talk a little bit about what that is. Samantha, maybe talk to us a little bit about website localization for Idaho exporters.
Yeah, I would be happy to.
Thank you.
So if you have a company and you want to reach some prospects, say in an international market, you might think, oh, I can just add a couple of foreign language pages and surely the search engine will do the rest. But unfortunately, that's not the case anymore. Search engines, and right here we've taken the global leader of Google, but the same applies to other search engines like Yandex and Bing and Baidu, and even these days things like YouTube and Facebook and Amazon, they're all used as search engines, and they're all very searcher-centric. So Google itself has 192 country and regional specific search engines. So if you just add a couple of pages to your website that are not highly relevant to your target audience, you are pretty much invisible. So say you're targeting the German market. Well, your searcher will most likely be on google.de for the German market, and they will most likely search in German, their native tongue. And once they land on your website, if they even land on it, they'll want to see things like measurements and metric. They'll want to see that it's GDPR compliant, etc., and other things that we'll go over today. So think of search engines like Google, like a bunch of different country-specific localized search engines. And one aspect of this is keyword optimization. So you need to understand your buyer persona and their language in order to be relevant to be relevant for that specific market. So for example, here we have the word car in Spanish in two ways. So auto and coche. And if you are a company that sells parts or trinkets for cars and you're selling into Mexico, then you really want to make sure you're using the word auto versus coche. However, if you are going into Spain, you really want to make sure you're using coche versus auto, because 91% of people in Spain use the word coche and only 9% use auto. So you want to make sure that you do your keyword research to really make sure that you're targeting the right person in the country that you're trying to actually sell to. And here's a really great practical example of how country-specific Googles produce results that are relevant to each specific user. So Susanna, who's in the UK, and myself in Miami, we both have dogs that love to play in the background during webinars. And so we both searched for squeakless dog toys. Logically, Google provided results that were relevant to each individual user. So I got things like Chewy.com and Amazon.com and even Yahoo with a relevant piece of content. However, Susanna got things I've never even heard of but are really relevant to her. So things like barksandbunnies.co.uk, timeforpaws.co.uk, and even Amazon was localized with amazon.co.uk. So the same search on different Google search engines gave us different results. But you have to remember that translation and keyword research, this is only one aspect of having a localized site and being able to be found and understood and be easier to do business with in your target markets. So in order for search engines to find you, you need to make it as easy as possible for it to realize that your website is for that specific market. So keep in mind that Google has a search index of hundreds of billions of pages that it needs to comb through to figure out what is most relevant to that specific searcher. So to make things easier on Google, you need to localize your website and your marketing. So those two online tools that Susanna was talking about. This includes things like hosting within the target market, registering your domain names, making sure that it's compliant to their standards, among other factors that you see listed here. And done really well, this is what it can look like in your analytics. So here is a great example of a website that is targeting prospects in Australia. So this website is on a .au. It's hosted in Australia with SEO keyword research done for that localized market. And as you can see, the results after 1 month on this B2B site shows that the majority of traffic, so about 77%, is from their main target market as a result, so Australia. And not only that, but 86% of the traffic comes from Australia and New Zealand combined. So even though it's a website in English, because it's for Australia, these analytics show that it is barely relevant to the other English-speaking markets like the US, the UK, India, Canada, and the Philippines. So when localization is done right, this is what it can look like, and this is what the results can be. So if you're interested in localizing your website, so making sure that you are getting in front of your prospects in the markets, in your main target markets, we have a really great Idaho Online Global program. And this, for website localization, we have options A and option B. So option A is a 2-market expansion with a limited scope, so 12 web pages and 2,000 words each. So by the end of option A, you'll have 2 localized websites for your top 2 target markets based off of your US site. So as you see in this example here, I think we did one for India or Canada, and then the other one for Mexico. These websites will be based off of your US site, but we will go through the whole localization process, including proper domain names, local hosting, SEO keyword research, industry-specific translators, making sure that you're compliant both to the culture and the regulatory standards, and so much more that you saw listed in a previous slide. So by having these websites, they'll help you be found, be understood, and be easier to do business with in your top target markets. In terms of budget, option A costs $12,000, but there are those Idaho STEP grants available to use towards the services, reducing it pretty considerably for Idaho companies that qualify for the grants. The second option is option B, and option B is anything above and beyond the scope of work of option A. So say you want a full website redesign, say you want new content, or maybe you want to integrate it with the CRM, then that would be considered option B. And the scope of work is just dependent on what your specific needs are. But you can use the STEP grants for that as well, as long as it's for international markets. And a really great example of option A is Avionics Support Group, or ASG. They now have 7 localized websites to help them grow in their business internationally. Hugo actually originally came to us because their products are highly technical, and they were doing business through sales reps in their international target markets, and the sales reps were having trouble relaying the technical information to the airlines. They just didn't have that sort of expertise. So by having these localized websites, they were able to kind of point to the websites when selling, and the websites would do all of the difficult explaining for them. So because of the websites, they actually got a $500,000 airline deal in China, and their exports grew from 2.5 to 5 million. And they started with China and Mexico, and then they expanded into 5 other markets. So it's shown to be a pretty successful sales and marketing tool. And we actually have a really great video of Hugo talking about his experience. And then in the next example, we have Bullman Products. And Bullman Products is a company that is pretty interesting because they have multiple buyer personas in their target markets. They range from elementary school teachers in Germany to butchers in Australia. So they were having a lot of trouble because they do a lot of business, or the majority of their business, through distributors, and they didn't know who their end consumer was. So the consumer would purchase from the distributor would purchase from Bullman, and the consumer never knew who Bullman was. And Bullman didn't really like that. So by having a localized website, they were able to kind of reevaluate and restructure their business strategy. So their buyer personas would search online for paper products. They would land on the Bullman site first. They would be able to interact with Bullman and learn more about Bullman. And then they would end up purchasing from the distributor. So it was a win-win situation where they were marketing for Bullman, and Bullman knew who their end consumer was. And because of their online sales, their international sales grew by 22% per year, helping drive their international business forward. So it was really exciting.
Samantha, can I launch a quick poll again? Oh, is that your dog?
Yeah.
Let me launch a quick
This dog toy not working.
Okay, let's launch a quick poll, and hopefully your dog will calm down, or mine will start barking. We just really wanted to know if any of you there would like to have more information about the option A and option B. In other words, option A, just to remind you, is 2 localized websites anywhere in the world, China and the Philippines, the Middle East and Mexico, whatever it is you want. 2 of them fully compliant, hosted, optimized, SEO'd, backlinked, everything possible. Total cost $12,000, but you've got up to 9,000 grants. Lucky Idaho exporters. If you want anything, if you want us to get back in touch with you or would like more information, please let us know. And thank you very much for that enthusiastic reply. And we will be circling back in due course for those. I'm going to close that poll now. And given the time, I'm going to go through e-commerce at lightning speed. It's obviously a major important. If I can get my mouse to work, here we go. It's obviously hugely important, and I'm very happy to circle back on it, but I do want to also leave time for questions at the end. If you have a particular interest in e-commerce, flag it up to us through a poll later. The first thing I want to point out is that e-commerce is huge, and we all talk about e-commerce all the time, how big it is, but B2B e-commerce is about 3 times the size of B2C e-commerce. And it's not always easy to get exact information, comparable information on the B2B side, but it is, by all accounts, huge. So just because you might be a manufacturer or an agricultural company or something like that, don't think that e-commerce is not for you. E-commerce is for everybody. It's quite interesting if you look at the primary ways that companies get brand research, search engines. In other words, your websites are by far the #1 way that people get brand research. 53% say search engines, 44% say social media. E-commerce is obviously a global phenomenon. Here you've got the B2C e-commerce numbers, 3.5 trillion, China being by far the #1, USA, but Europe taking as a whole is pretty interesting too. And it's fast growing throughout, especially again in this sort of weird pandemic year. There's quite a different types of strategies for e-commerce that companies take. They're basically 3. So if you drill it down and simplify it, there are basically 3 different types of strategies you can have. You can do you can have your own e-commerce platform. You can do everything in-house. You can have a localized website and link it to a marketplace, like you would have on Amazon. You can have a Mercado Libre. You can go on lots of different platforms, or else you can have a combination of those. Our argument is that with a localized website, in each one of those cases, you mitigate the disadvantages of having, for example, just an in-market distributor e-commerce platform. There are lots of big generalist marketplaces. I'm sure you all know Amazon, Mercado Libre, for example, Alibaba in China. There's a lot of them. If you're going to go onto a local market, into an international market, don't only think of Amazon. Obviously, Amazon's global, but you might want to think about other ones too. Latin America, for example, Mercado Libre is a very interesting market. In Europe, Zalando is a very interesting marketplace to go on to. There's, as I said, an awful lot of them for the top e-commerce platforms and marketplaces that you want to go to. Choose the right one for your business sector and for your industry. If you want to go on your own e-commerce global platforms, if you want to have your own platform, choose the software carefully. Not all of them work well internationally. There's a couple of listed 6 non-negotiables there. Obviously, mobile responsive is one of the absolute must-haves, but all the other ones too. Complete tech stack, for example. Of the major big platforms, Shopify and Shopify Plus is the ones that have really grown up and is now very good internationally. It didn't used to be, but it now is. The other ones that we see very frequently, BigCommerce, Magento, WooCommerce is a plugin, whether you have payment gateways or not, depending. We can circle back on all the details of e-commerce and have that even as a separate webinar if there's interest in that. But I think I really wanted to highlight that we even have an option E. So Idaho Online Global Program option E, which is an e-commerce option for you. So we've designed a program for Idaho companies that want to have an e-commerce platform. We'll take the hard work and the lifting out of it and produce an e-commerce enablement either via a marketplace or your own, whichever you like, and have that as an option. And again, these are graciously assisted by the by Tina and her team there with the STEP grants. So there's a lot that you can do with the web with a localized e-commerce platform to really make sure that it's integrated into the markets. I'm giving you here an example of one that we have that we manage in Brazil, just as a full e-commerce standalone site. But as I said, link it to a marketplace that allows you to have the visibility on your end client and allows you to maintain real control of your marketing budget and make sure that your brand is benefiting from that, as opposed to making the brand actually of the Amazon or the Mercado Libre the one that benefits most from it. So if you have an interest in the e-commerce side, perhaps you could let us know. And actually, I'm going to, guess what, launch a poll on that one too. So if you have an interest in the e-commerce side, we can circle back to you later and talk you through the details of it and strategy and how you'd like to play that. And if you do have an interest, let us know, and we can, as I said, circle back. So thank you very much for replying again with a lot of enthusiasm there. Okay, perhaps I should spend more time, but we also want to talk a bit about online marketing for Idaho exporters. So I'm going to close this poll and turn back to Samantha to talk about online marketing for Idaho companies. Samantha.
Thank you so much. So with all these new active social media users coming online, it's no surprise that one of the things that they're doing is communicating. Over 43% of internet users use social media for work purposes, and people are spending an average of 2.5 hours per day on social media worldwide. And this is really good news for companies and exporters. It means you know exactly where your clients and your prospects are and what they're doing. They're all online and they're all on social media, so you can absolutely use this. And so you need to remember that just like e-commerce isn't just for B2C companies, social media isn't just for B2C companies. It's for B2B as well. Because what social media can do is it can expand your other marketing efforts. So your content has the chance to be seen by a wide audience, and hopefully the right audience and a very specific audience at that. It can also help you build brand awareness. Gone are the days where the only way that you could build that same brand awareness was through billboards and magazine ads and television ads. With social media, you have the ability to bring your brand content directly to your customers, your partners, and your prospects. And now that you know exactly where your audience really is. And social media is one of the most powerful ways to connect with your audiences. Sprout Social reports that when customers follow a brand on social, 67% of consumers are more likely to spend more with that brand, and 78% that they would visit the brand's physical retail store. And social media also helps you attract buyers to your products and services, and it gives you the ability to directly have conversations with the individuals at the place and the time of their choosing. Online tools can also help level that playing field. It can make you seem a lot larger than you actually are. It can help you seem like you're one of the larger companies. So if you're using your social media strategy, and if you're using social media the way that to its full potential, it can really make a difference for your bottom line. So here we have a few of the online marketing best practices, and we've already touched upon a few of these. So one is to have a localized website to act like a local springboard, and here we're talking about international online marketing, but also for your domestic as well. You want to have a site for the specific market and then a communication policy surrounding it, like you saw on that map in the beginning of the presentation. Second is know your audience, your buyer persona, and their buyer's journey. You want to set goals for your social media strategy. You want to choose which platforms are worth your resources. You want to answer all comments and mentions. You have to look, analyze, and keep learning, and you cannot stop. So just diving into that second piece, so know your audience or your buyer persona. We've touched upon what a buyer persona is and how you can kind of determine it, but here's a really good example of how a buyer persona can interact with social media and how it differs across countries and platforms. So this is an example of a Facebook campaign where we were promoting the same product with similar imagery and message, although of course localized and staying relevant to that local audience. If we look at the results of this specific post, for the UK, we got over 1,200 engagements, and we were actually really, really proud of this. But then if you look at Mexico, we were absolutely blown away with over 20,000 engagements. And if we just stopped our analysis here, we could infer that our campaign in Mexico performed a lot better than the one in the UK, right? Well, actually, if we look at the full buyer's journey, it gives us a much better picture. You need to know how each market specifically interacts with you, so you can look at the numbers in several ways. For Mexico, for example, we know that they engage pretty easily on social media. They are incredibly reactive and responsive, so they love to hit like, they like to comment, they like to share, unlike the more reserved Brits. But if you look at the actual conversions, so that's the important bit for this specific company, that indicates how many actually went and bought the product or actually asked for a quote. The numbers are pretty similar. So if you look at the orange and the green, or the orangey yellow and the green bars, you'll see that the numbers are pretty similar for both Mexico and the UK. So we know from experience that you need to get those levels of engagement in Mexico to get a really good level of conversion, which means sales. However, in the UK, less engagement doesn't necessarily mean lower sales. It doesn't mean that they're not interested. So each market is specific, and you need to take into account those market specifics when looking at your analytics for your social media and for your website. So the third tip that we had on that slide is to set your goals for your specific for your social media strategy. You want to make sure that your social strategy is aligned with your business objectives. And this will give you a really great starting point to decide what you want to achieve, and consequently how you are going to monitor this and what metrics you should really focus on. As with your business goals, your social media goals should use the SMART method. So specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and timely. If we take social media here as an example, you can see that within a singular platform, so Facebook here, you can already tailor your activities to your goals and your overall objectives for your business, and you can see what metrics you need to take a look at to make sure you're achieving those goals. Fourth, for your international strategy, you need to choose which platforms are worth your resources. You do not want to stretch yourself too thin and be on every platform available, because you're going to get tired. It takes a lot of time, a lot of resources, and it's just not the best way to go. So it's important to know where your buyer personas are and which social media platforms they use and they like to use to engage with companies like yours. So here we see that Facebook appears to be stronger than ever. Now it's the leading social media network in 153 out of 167 countries analyzed in this specific survey, which is about 92% of the planet. Zuckerberg only has 3 antagonists, VK and another one that I cannot pronounce. And they're all in the Russian territories and in China as well. But what's going on behind first place? Which ones are the Facebook runner-ups? What would life be like without Facebook? And here is a map showing the second-ranked social networks in 58 nations analyzed with SimilarWeb and Alexa. Instagram is gaining traction as a runner-up social media network in about 44 different countries, and Twitter resists in 7 territories, and Reddit in 3. So you need to really understand where your buyer personas are and how they like to interact with you to best choose which platform you can spend your time and resources on. And once you figure that out, it's super helpful to have a content calendar. And this could look at the year ahead, the quarter, the month, or whatever timeline suits your business model or sales cycle. This will help you structure your thoughts and make sure that the delivery of the content is coherent, and it also keeps you accountable. It makes sure that you are allocating the proper time and resources to the appropriate social media platforms. And here's a really good example of a July 2020 content calendar. And then in the next slide, it just shows you how you can time it appropriately across different platforms. And then just to wrap up what we've discussed so far, one of the last tips is to answer all comments and mentions. Social media is a fantastic space to build relationships, and as we mentioned, build trust with your prospects and also your current customers. So if you are active on social media, you want to make sure you're engaging with your followers, invite them to like your page, and most importantly, answer their comments and mentions, because social media is not just a place where you can stand on your soapbox and just declare everything, but it's a place to interact with your prospects, your distributors, your current customers, and therefore building a much deeper relationship than you would just through your website. So make sure to answer all your comments and mentions. And if you're interested about learning more about international online marketing, we do have our options C and D that will help you market your international online presence in your target market. So we would be kind of like your in-house, out-house marketing partner, where we will do monthly search engine marketing, social media marketing, and reporting and analytics for option C. And then for option D, if you want to expand and include email marketing, content marketing, HubSpot integrations, video marketing, whatever suits those needs, we can do that in option D as well. And please know that there are those grants available towards the Idaho Online Global Programs, including options C and D. And a really great example of a company that has done this with us is AMSOIL. They went online global in Australia, France, India, and others, because they really needed help with brand recognition. They want people to go to their car shop and say, I want AMSOIL, synthetic oil, not just whatever you got on the shelf. So we were helping them with localized marketing campaigns to help with that brand awareness, help with that credibility, that trust in those international markets. They also needed help recruiting new distributors and supporting distributors that were already in those markets. So we were able to do all of this through a localized online presence, and then support it with a communication strategy through social media marketing and search engine marketing. And here's just a few examples of their localized websites, and then the online marketing to support it.
Samantha, let me launch the last poll, because then we've got a couple of questions that have come in as well. So just a quick poll just to ask people if they have an interest in the marketing side, and if so, let us know. We can circle back, give you more information, and so on. So as Samantha said, this is the option C of the Idaho Online Global Program, option C or D, and the grants do actually apply for that as well. So that's of interest for you. So if you're interested in the marketing side, please let us know. We'll get back to you on that. We're gonna whip through these polls just to like 1 or 2 minutes for the questions. We're slightly going close to time. Thank you very, very much for that. I appreciate that. We'll be getting back to you on that. Close this poll now, and just really gonna wrap up, and then throw the floor open. I guess just summarizing really for us, it's just a question of saying, we said 60% of the globe is online for about 7 hours a day. 45% of the globe is using social media. You have this now at your fingertips through the Idaho Online Global Programs to reach the world and to engage and to drive your top line using virtual tools. So that's really the conclusion that we wanted just to be out there with you, and to say that these tools are within your grasp for small and medium-sized companies to take advantage of these tools and use them in order to really reach global markets and to be found in a localized way, because anything online has to be localized, has to be searcher-centric, client-focused. And we'd be really delighted to have the opportunity to help you with that, and to be able to get these online tools for you. With that, I'm going to turn to some questions. We've got quite a few. I think there's 1 or 2 perhaps for Tina right away. The first is, how long is the application process? And Tina, how long does the application process take? Is it open? It's open today. Is it how long is it open for? And how many companies can apply to it?
Those are great questions. Hopefully I remember all of them. So if I miss any, Susanna, let me know. I'm really glad you asked, because after I got off, I'm like, oh shoot, I didn't say when it closed. So yes, it's open as we speak. It closes at 3 p.m. Mountain Time on the 18th of December. It's a short application period. It is a competitive application. So there's, you need to do your very best application. There are lots of tools on our webpage to help you write the best application possible. My team, as well as the team at Department of Agriculture, are here to help you write a good application as well. So be sure to check out our website, get in touch with me. I'll get you in touch with the specialist that's over your industry so they can help you to write your very best application so you're more competitive. Also online, it shows you there's bonus points available to, because SBA standards gives bonus points to companies from rural areas, for women-owned businesses, veteran-owned businesses, companies in opportunity zones. So all of that spelled out on our website as well. You can do one application for this program, and it's for a $9,000 grant. Did I miss any of those other questions, Susanna?
No, I think that was it. I'm just conscious of time as well. You know, please, I know many people have allocated an hour. We are very grateful that you've taken an hour. So if you've got to log off, you know, run, do your business, go, run your company, and we will circle back to you if you ask us to. There's a couple of questions, I think more for Samantha and I, just really quickly, because we're over time now. One is about how long does it take to do a website for you guys? Samantha, how long does it take us to build a website?
Yeah, so it takes us about 3 months. That's what we outline it in our project management software, but it can be done in less time if the communication is really good between your side and the technical team.
Okay. Another one, can you help with SEO? Can you help, I think they mean keywords as well.
Yes, absolutely. So that's part of our localization process. We will do the keyword research in those specific markets, and we'll compile a list of keywords, and we'll make sure to send them over to you so you have them as well.
Great. And I have one which I'm going to answer. It's about compliance. You know how much I love that, which is, yes, all of our European websites are fully GDPR compliant. So you can tick that box. Yes, you will have full GDPR compliance on that. I'm very conscious of time, so I really wanted to say a big thank you to Jay for joining us as well, and to Tina and all of the team. Thank you so much for allowing us this time with the Idaho companies, and for reaching out to them. To my colleague Samantha for presenting, as always, brilliant. And then most of all, to all of the Idaho companies. And you know, we're delighted, absolutely delighted, to be able to start this online global program for Idaho companies. And can't wait to get started. So looking forward to building great Idaho websites. Thank you all very much. And I'm going to shut the webinar down now. Thank you. Thank you all very much again. And happy trading, happy business, and we will all see you soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye. Thank you.